It was the summer of 64 AD. Rome was the greatest city on earth. 1 million people packed into marble streets, wooden tenements and narrow alleys. It was loud, crowded, magnificent, and dangerously flammable. Then, on the night of July 18th, a fire started near the Circus Maximus. By morning it had consumed entire neighborhoods. By the end of the week, 10 of Rome's 14 districts were damaged or destroyed. 3 had been reduced to ash. And within days of the fire going out, a rumor began to spread through the city. Nero had started it. The emperor himself, the man who was supposed to protect Rome, had burned it to the ground so he could build a palace on the ruins. It is one of the most enduring stories in history. The mad emperor playing his fiddle while his city burned. There's just one problem. It probably didn't happen. Stay with me. Because the real story of the Great Fire of Rome is far more interesting than the legend, and what it tells us about power, narrative, and the people who write history is something that still applies today. To understand the fire, you need to understand Nero. He became emperor of Rome at 17 years old. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, had poisoned his stepfather Claudius to put him on the throne, and for the first few years she essentially ran the empire through him. Nero eventually had her killed. It was not a good look. By 64 AD, Nero was 26 years old and had already accumulated a reputation for excess, cruelty, and a genuine passion for the arts that the Roman aristocracy found embarrassing. He performed publicly as a singer and musician. He competed in the Olympic Games. He considered himself an artist. The Roman Senate considered him a disgrace. This context matters, because when the fire came, there was already a powerful faction in Rome that despised Nero, and they were the ones writing the history. The fire started on the night of July 18th in shops near the Circus Maximus. What was unusual was the wind. A hot summer wind drove the flames north and west with terrifying speed. Before the fire brigades could respond, entire blocks were gone. Where was Nero? He was in Antium, 30 miles south of Rome, at his villa by the sea. When news of the fire reached him, he rushed back to the city immediately. This is the part the legend forgets. Nero organized and personally supervised the relief effort. He opened Rome's public fields as a refuge for the homeless. He brought in food from Ostia. He reduced the price of grain. He threw open his own imperial gardens and built temporary shelters at his own expense. None of this sounds like a man who started the fire. So, where did the story come from? The primary sources for Nero's guilt are Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio, all writing decades or even a century after the fire, all drawing on sources hostile to Nero. Tacitus himself writes that it was uncertain whether the fire was accidental or the work of the emperor. He records the rumor that Nero sang about the fall of Troy while watching the fire, but he does not confirm it. He records it as gossip. Suetonius and Dio are less careful, but neither provides a source. Neither explains why Nero would destroy the city he ruled, the city his power depended on, the city his people lived in.